You know, sometimes I'm like, it's a full stop. It's a full stop,
right.
but it's not always a full stop.
This guy's doing his thing, this person's doing their thing, but they're not in the scene together.
Can you take me back to when you got the call saying you're going to be Whitney Houston? What was the reaction?
I actually genuinely fell to my knees. I didn't even do it on purpose. Like, it was, you know, those moments that like make you sink and need to touch the floor.
Yeah.
It was just one of those moments. Yeah.
And, you know, you've been doing bits. You've got casual BAFTA, you know, you've been out here.
Doing bits and I'm like, yeah.
But this is your first main movie starring role, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of firsts on this one. First time leading a film, first time playing an American person.
But you've been doing it next to...
First time acting with Stanley.
I mean, I was going to say you've had a Hollywood OG by your side.
I know.
Bringing you through it. What did you learn from each other during the process?
I learned I wish I could act like she can.
That is absolute.
Come on, no, it was amazing. I told you I didn't know. I mean, we were like, you know, obviously I read about you, right?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh yeah, and she's British. I was like, yeah, no, she's British. And then she starts talking to me, but not talking like Whitney. Yeah. For like the first few hours that we met, and I thought, maybe she's not British.
Maybe they're wrong.
No, it was so good, and then suddenly she started talking like she does now.
But
also but it's a beautiful performance that you give, and also, you know, you did that thing where you became her, but you didn't imitate her.
Thank you, man.
It's amazing.
Okay, here's what I learned about Stanley, from Stanley.
What?
You have the most beautiful sense of ease in the way that you work.
Really?
There's an ease, like it doesn't look like you're making an effort at all. You managed to be like funny, even on those long days that we were doing. You're funny, and also every single scene was different. And you know what I love the most is the way you end a scene. When you did the like cool like.
What did I do?
You would do like cool lines that weren't in the script.
Oh
and
yes,
stuff like that.
I have a tendency to do that.
It's brilliant, and then also he ignores punctuation, which is something I'm learning to do.
Yeah,
we had that conversation
completely
before.
Ignore punctuation.
Yeah, just like not, because you know sometimes I'm like, it's a full stop. It's a full stop, but it's not always a full stop.
To make it your own.
Just to make it. Your own.
I think you have to, because then I think when you're working on something, when you memorize something, you have a tendency to get into these rhythms, right? So then you'll do it, and then if somebody says, oh, let's try this way, instead of sitting, let's do it standing. Yeah. And then suddenly you can't do it because you practiced it sitting or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that really, punctuation goes along with that too. It's like, just get rid of it. Yeah. Get rid of it.
It was so cool because everything you said was so natural. Yeah. And now I'm looking back and I'm like, oh yeah, like even on the next jobs that I've done, I've started to do that. So,
yeah, it's good.
It's really great. It's very freeing.
And then, but also when you're working with somebody who's great, who's really looking at you and listening, and you're listening to them, that's what makes it work.
Yeah, that helps.
People aren't, you know, sometimes you see movies and people are just, this guy's doing his thing, this person's doing their thing, but they're not in the scene together.
I love this relationship. I feel like you're both taking so much away.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Can we talk about Whitney and what your first Whitney memory is, or standout song?
What's yours?
I don't have one. I only know that, you know, she just became a part of my life. Do you know what I mean? She became a part of our lives through her music. Yeah. You know, she was popular culture, but at its best.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Not in a cheap way. You know, not
it wasn't
like,
forced.
No,
she
it was
kind of
just like
entered and was like welcomed.
Yeah, I mean, she could sing anything, and luckily for us, she sang a lot of incredibly beautiful, popular songs.
Yeah.
Right. Naomi, I have seen that you talk about how much you loved Roger and Hammerstein's Cinderella.
Oh my God, that was.
There's no other Cinderella, as far as I'm concerned.
It came out in lockdown again. I know. And I was obsessed, and then somebody told me recently that Brandy is redoing it.
Stop it.
I'm not even joking.
Is she going to be the fairy godmother?
Yes, she's going to be Cinderella.
Okay.
Like,
wait, who is?
Brandy is going back to be Cinderella, I think. Or maybe the fairy godmother, who knows? Like, it's just one of the best films, and I remember watching it as a child, and you know, that full circle moment where I look back on that and I'm like, oh, that's when I started loving costume. And that was my first thing, and then how it spins, and then how the body spins in the costume, and then the performance and the singing, and that started off my love of musicals, and you know, now here,
25
years later.
Being Whitney.
Being Whitney.
And you did so much training, right? You did the vocals and the mannerisms, the movement. Yeah. What was that like?
It was intense. It was intense. I think I had to like learn how to ease off, like take my foot off the clutch a little bit sometimes. Like you can get quite obsessed in an unhealthy way where like I was starting to be able to memorize the script, not even my own lines. Like I would talk to my dialect coach, and she was like, "Put the script down." And I'm that kind of person. So it was a lesson in balance too. But the whole experience was very intense. But I think it was necessary to do the job. I just think moving on, I probably won't be as intense anymore. Work with a sense of ease.
Right.
Well, you just never know. Every role is different. Sometimes you need to. I mean, you really had to do that for this.
I kind of did.
You did, absolutely.
Yeah, it wasn't I couldn't be like, "Hey guys, what's going on?"
Yeah.
It wasn't a small job.
What are we doing today?
Hey, what's good? I'm Whitney. Yeah. No. Have you found yourself slipping back into Whitney, like when you're at the supermarket?
I found myself actually like in this press run. Like the more I talk about her, it's like the more my hands are starting to do the thing when she's explaining something, and then like but nothing crazy. I just just keep an eye on it, and I'm like, no.
And your two characters, I think you see straight away, they have such an ease with each other. Yeah. Whitney's so comfortable that first meeting when she gets signed. Why do you think that is? Why were they just so naturally connected?
I don't know that I don't know. I think he really respected her. And she respected him, and they had the same ear, even though he didn't sing at all. He doesn't sing. He's not a musician, and she was the ultimate musician. But they both heard and saw the same thing for her,
right? Yeah.
And he could help make that happen.
He was,
I mean, this is a bit of an off-key fan theory, but also, without knowing it, they were both part of the queer community.
Also that.
They both what?
Were part of the queer community.
Oh yeah.
No,
that's true. That's true.
No,
that's
it's
really
such a good
interesting.
point.
Yeah.
There was kind of something unspoken there. I wonder in real life when that was like, whether it was at that point that it was in the film or whether before, like those things.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if they ever did have that, who knows? Who knows? But it was beautiful to see as part of the film
it's
anyway.
Lovely.
So in terms of the performances, like you covered so many, like the Super Bowl, the Oprah, the first one that Clive went to before the signing. Yeah. If you could go back in time, both of you, and watch one, what would you choose?
In real life?
In real life.
I would go back and watch the AMA medley. It's just like so epic.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah,
I was listening to that this morning. It's unbelievable.
It's incredible.
It's insane.
How is it even possible? How that person sang?
Oh, Lord knows. And what did she do to take it? I don't know. We'll never know the full secrets. Yeah. But we're thankful that she existed.
Did. Yeah.
And you've left a beautiful legacy for her. So thank you both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.